And so that brings us to data apps. What do they need? Well, I think that all of my experience running and building these things tells me that they need these 5 things. The number one thing is you need interactive query speeds. This is the most important thing. And it's important because data applications are designed to be used. They're designed to be used by people that are not necessarily professional data people. And while a professional data person might be happy waiting around 10, 15 seconds or even minutes or longer for queries to run or reports to be generated, someone whose job is not to sit there and work with data all day is not willing to wait for that. As soon as things take more than a second or so, they're going to be less engaged with the tool. When things go even longer than that, when they take multiple seconds, even double-digit seconds, then they're just not going to use it at all, and they're just going to start emailing people that they think are going to be able to use the tool for them. So we want to avoid that, and I think what we've learned from the consumer app world is it's important that things be very responsive, and things being very responsive are going to help with engagement. And we want people to engage with data. We want people to engage with data, and these apps at interactive speeds is how it's possible. Always online. So that's a second thing. That's another thing people expect in this day and age. People don't expect to try to log into something maybe they're interested in checking something out on the weekend. They don't expect to see a page saying that the server is down for maintenance. They don't expect to see that page on Tuesday night. Teams are global. Everybody's global. Everybody's working remote. The system needs to be online all the time. Fresh data from streams. This is something that's actually not important for every use case, but it is critical for some. So it's critical if there's any sort of operational component to what people are doing with these applications. So if people are using these data apps purely to analyze what's happened in the past and look at trends and that kind of stuff, then you don't really need fresh data. It might be nice, but it's not critical. Maybe if you have things loaded from yesterday, that's fine. But if there's any kind of operational component, if you're using it to monitor rollout of a new product feature, if you're using it to decide if you should increase or decrease spend on a new campaign you just started, if you're using it to decide if some decision you just made is having the proper effect, then the ability to load fresh data is really critical. And if you have a streaming service, then with Druid, you're able to load data as fast as that streaming service can deliver it. Quality of service is important. And when I say quality of service, I mean this in the sort of sense that people mean it when they're talking about networking quality of service. And that means that we sort of identify workloads that are important and then make sure that we're prioritizing those important workloads. And there's an important reason for that. And that's really the next point, price performance. So if you think about a data system and the amount of work that it has to do, it gets queries. Every query represents an amount of work. Imagine that there's a big influx of queries that might be considered low priority. Maybe they're not interactive. Maybe they're offline jobs, background jobs. You want to make sure you're running those at a lower priority because that helps you get the best price performance. It helps you control your costs. If you think about the ways you can handle these kinds of shifting workloads, you can either scale up every time they come in, which means you'll just be paying more. And your costs will sort of ricochet around from month to month, depending on what load you get. Or you can have relatively consistent costs from month to month and just make sure that things are prioritized properly. So high priority work is always going through and low priority work is waiting for the high priority work to finish. And that's how quality of service and price and performance relate to each other.